The perfect assistant. Natalie Rivers had learned every detail about Derek Ashford in 4 years. She knew he preferred green tea at dawn and espresso after sunset. She understood his silences better than his words, reading tension in the angle of his jaw or excitement in the way his fingers drummed against his desk. Working beside the founder of Ashford Technologies had become second nature to her, and somewhere in those 4 years of morning briefings and late-night strategy sessions, she had fallen deeply in love with him. Another morning at Ashford Technologies. The California sun was barely rising when Natalie entered the sleek headquarters of Ashford Technologies at 6 in the morning. She moved through the modern glass building with practiced ease, reviewing schedules and preparing briefing documents. By the time Derek walked through the door at 7:30, everything was perfectly arranged. His favorite tea waited on his desk alongside the quarterly reports he needed. Small moments. "Morning, Natalie," Derek said, his voice warm. He was striking in an understated way, with brown hair that caught golden sunlight and green eyes that seemed to calculate 1,000 possibilities at once. "How was your weekend?" "Quiet," Natalie replied, feeling that familiar flutter in her chest. "I finally finished that novel you recommended." "The one about artificial intelligence?" Derek's face lit up with genuine interest. "What did you think?" They talked for 20 minutes about science fiction and philosophy before the day's demands pulled them back to business. These moments happened more frequently lately. Conversations that stretched beyond work. His hand steadying her elbow when she stumbled. The way he sometimes watched her with an expression she could not quite read. The accusation. The afternoon started normally. Natalie was confirming travel arrangements when Rachel Wong appeared at her desk. Rachel was head of corporate security, always impeccably dressed with dark hair pulled back severely and eyes that missed nothing. "Natalie, Mr. Ashford needs you in the executive conference room immediately," Rachel said, her tone unnaturally flat. "Is something wrong?" Natalie asked. "Just go." Natalie's stomach tightened as she walked to the 40th floor conference room. When she entered, Derek stood at the head of the table while Rachel positioned herself near the door. The atmosphere felt wrong, charged with something dark. "The evidence." "Natalie, please sit down," Derek said formally. His voice had gone distant, professional in a way that made her skin go cold. Rachel placed a thick folder on the conference table. "We've discovered a serious security breach. Last month, confidential details about our acquisition of Phoenix Systems were leaked to our primary competitor. The deal collapsed, costing us $60 million. "That's terrible," Natalie said carefully. "But why am I here?" "The investigation traced the leak to your computer," Rachel said, opening the folder to reveal pages of technical documentation. "Multiple emails containing classified information were sent from your account to external addresses. The timestamps match your working hours. Security footage confirms you were at your desk when these messages were sent. The betrayal." Natalie felt the room tilt. "That's impossible. I would never do something like that." "The evidence is conclusive," Rachel continued, her expression neutral. "Our forensics team verified everything. Server logs, email trails, security camera footage. It all points to you." "No," Natalie stood abruptly. "Someone is framing me. Derek, please. You know me. For years I've worked beside you. I've never given you any reason to doubt my loyalty." Derek's hands gripped the back of his chair, knuckles white. "The board reviewed everything. They want immediate action." "Look at me," Natalie pleaded, her voice breaking. "Look at me and tell me you honestly believe I would betray you." The choice. For a moment, something cracked in Derek's composed expression. She saw pain in his eyes, conflict, uncertainty. But then he looked down at the documents on the table and his face hardened. "The evidence is overwhelming," he said quietly. "I have to follow protocol." "Protocol?" Natalie's voice rose. For years of dedication, of loyalty, of being there for you through everything, and you're going to throw it away because of some documents? These aren't just documents, Rachel interjected. This is corporate espionage. Natalie ignored her, keeping her eyes locked on Derek. I'm begging you. Investigate further. Give me time to prove my innocence. You owe me that much. I owe you? Derek's voice went cold, defensive. You're my employee, Natalie. Nothing more. And employees who commit corporate espionage get terminated. The words that shattered everything. The words hit Natalie like physical blows. Nothing more. After 4 years of connection, of moments that felt significant, of unspoken feelings that charged the air between them, she was nothing more than an employee. Fine, Natalie said, her voice hollow. She straightened her shoulders, forcing herself to maintain dignity even as everything inside her crumbled. I'll clear out my desk. Security will escort you, Rachel said with barely hidden satisfaction. All company property must be surrendered immediately. The walk of shame. Natalie walked to her desk with 2 security guards flanking her. Other employees stopped working to stare. Some whispered. Others quickly looked away. Nobody asked questions. Nobody offered support. She packed her personal items into a cardboard box with trembling hands. A framed photo of her grandmother. A coffee mug her best friend had given her. A small succulent plant she had kept alive for 3 years. When she reached the elevator, she could not stop herself from looking back. Through the glass walls of his office, she could see Derek standing at his window, watching her leave. Even from this distance, she could see the rigid tension in his shoulders. Starting over. The elevator doors closed. Natalie finally let the tears fall. She had lost her job, her reputation, and worst of all, any chance with the man she loved. Derek Ashford had chosen to believe lies over the woman who had stood beside him for 4 years. That night, alone in her apartment, Natalie made a decision. She would not let this destroy her. She would rebuild her career somehow. She would prove her innocence. She would move forward. But she would never again make the mistake of loving someone who could discard her so easily. Derek Ashford could go straight to hell for all she cared. Except that was not true. Even now, betrayed and heartbroken, part of her still loved him. And that might have been the worst pain of all. The struggle to rebuild the weeks after her termination felt endless. Natalie applied to over 50 companies, but the whispers had spread through the tech industry like wildfire. Her name had become toxic, associated with corporate espionage and betrayal. No one wanted to take the risk of hiring her. She watched her savings dwindle, skipped meals to stretch her budget, and seriously considered leaving San Francisco altogether. A second chance then Catalyst Innovation Labs called. The interview was different from anything she had experienced at Ashford Technologies. The office buzzed with creative energy instead of corporate formality. The founder, a woman named Patricia Young, actually listened when Natalie explained what had happened. I believe people deserve second chances, Patricia said, studying Natalie thoughtfully. Your resume is exceptional. Your references from before Ashford Technologies are glowing. We need someone with your skills to help us organize our chaos. When can you start? Natalie started the following Monday. Her new colleague, Jason Lee, made the transition bearable. He was the lead developer with warm brown eyes and an easy smile that never felt calculated. He brought her coffee that first morning without being asked, finding her footing. Welcome to organized chaos, Jason said, gesturing around the open workspace where programmers debated code and designers argued over interface layouts. It's not as fancy as Ashford Technologies, but we actually enjoy coming to work. How did you know I worked there? Natalie asked carefully. Patricia mentioned it. I also looked you up online, Jason admitted. For what it's worth, I worked on a project with Derek Ashford once. He's brilliant but cold as ice. I can't imagine he's easy to work for. He wasn't, Natalie lied. The truth was Derek had been demanding but inspiring, challenging but supportive. At least she had thought so before he destroyed everything. Jason became her anchor during those difficult first weeks. He made her laugh with terrible programming jokes, defended her ideas in meetings, and never once asked about the scandal. He simply treated her like a competent professional, which was exactly what she needed. Healing and growth. 3 months passed. Natalie slowly rebuilt her confidence. The work at Catalyst was fulfilling. The team was supportive and creative. She started sleeping through the night again. Started imagining a future that did not revolve around Derek Ashford. Then Jason mentioned the gala. The Tech Innovation Awards, he explained over lunch one Friday. Biggest networking event of the year. Everyone who matters in the industry shows up. Patricia got us tickets. You should come with me. Natalie's stomach dropped. Will Ashford Technologies be there? Definitely. Derek Ashford is receiving some Leadership Excellence Award or something. Jason said, then studied her face. Is that a problem? I know you used to work there. It's fine, Natalie said, though her heart was racing. I'm not hiding from anyone. I'll go. The transformation. The night of the gala, Natalie stood before her closet for over an hour. She finally chose an emerald green dress that hugged her figure elegantly, far more daring than anything she would have worn as Derek's assistant. She left her auburn hair loose in soft waves instead of the practical bun he remembered. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized the confident woman staring back. Jason picked her up at 7, looking handsome in a classic tuxedo. Wow, he said simply. You look amazing, Natalie. Thank you. You look pretty good yourself. The gala. The gala was held at the Palace Hotel, a historic space of crystal chandeliers and gilded columns. Hundreds of people in elegant attire mingled with champagne glasses, their conversation creating a pleasant hum that echoed through the grand ballroom. Natalie felt Jason's hand rest lightly on the small of her back, steadying and supportive. You okay? He asked quietly. I'm fine. Let's get a drink. They were halfway across the room when Natalie felt it. That familiar awareness, the sensation of being watched that she had developed over 4 years of anticipating Derek's needs. She turned instinctively and locked eyes with Derek Ashford across the crowded ballroom. The stare. He stood among a group of executives in expensive suits, but his attention was fixed entirely on her. Even from this distance, she could see the shock register on his face, followed quickly by something darker and more intense. His green eyes traveled from her face down to where Jason's hand rested on her back, and his expression turned stormy. Natalie lifted her chin deliberately and turned away, but her hands were shaking. That's him, isn't it? Jason said quietly. Ashford. Yes. He's staring at you like he wants to either kiss you or commit murder. Probably both. Natalie laughed despite herself. Don't be ridiculous. But Jason was right. All evening, she felt Derek's gaze tracking her movements. Every time she laughed at something Jason said, every time Jason leaned close to speak over the music, she sensed Derek's presence like a physical weight pressing against her awareness. The terrace confrontation. Finally, she excused herself to the terrace for air. The San Francisco night was cool, the bay stretching out below with lights reflecting on dark water. She had been outside maybe 2 minutes when she heard footsteps behind her. Natalie. His voice still affected her, still sent electricity racing down her spine. She turned slowly. Derek looked both exactly the same and completely different. The same green eyes that seemed to see everything. The same powerful presence that commanded attention. But there were new shadows under those eyes now, new lines of tension around his mouth. He looked like he had not been sleeping well. The confrontation. Mr. Ashford, she said coolly. Don't do that. Don't be formal with me after 4 years. You made it very clear what I was to you, Natalie said. An employee. Nothing more. Derek flinched as if she had struck him. I deserve that. Natalie, I need to talk to you. I don't think we have anything to discuss. Who is he? Derek moved closer and she caught the scent of his cologne, achingly familiar. That man you're with. None of your business. The hell it isn't. His voice went rough, raw. Tell me. Are you with him? Why do you care? Natalie demanded, anger rising hot in her chest. You fired me, Derek. You destroyed my reputation. You chose to believe lies about me rather than trust the person who stood beside you for 4 years. What I do now and who I do it with is absolutely none of your concern. The confession. You're right, Derek said, running a hand through his hair in frustration. You're absolutely right. But I can't stop thinking about you. I haven't slept properly in 3 months. Every morning I expect to see you at your desk, and when you're not there, everything feels wrong. The whole day feels wrong without you. Natalie's heart was hammering against her ribs. You don't get to say things like that. Not after what you did. I know. Derek stepped closer still, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. God, Natalie, I know. But I need to know. Are you in love with him? The vulnerability in his voice nearly undid her carefully constructed walls. Jason is my friend. A good friend who's been kind to me when I needed it most. Something you weren't capable of being. I was a coward, Derek said, his voice breaking. The evidence seemed so clear, and I was terrified. Terrified of what? Of how much I wanted you. The confession came out raw and honest. For 4 years, I wanted you so badly I could barely think straight. Every day was torture, having you so close but unable to touch you, unable to tell you how I felt. And when those accusations came, I panicked. Because if I defended you and you were guilty, it would mean I was completely wrong about you. Wrong about everything I felt. So I took the coward's way out and hid behind protocol and evidence and corporate policy. The revelation. Tears burned in Natalie's eyes. You broke my heart. I know, and I'm so sorry. Derek reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away, and cupped her face in his hands. Natalie, I hired the best private investigator in the country. I need to know the truth. You already know the truth, she whispered. I told you I was innocent. I mean I need to prove it, Derek said intensely. And I need to find out who really did this to you. Because I know now that you were telling the truth. I should have known it from the beginning. The investigation. For 5 days after the gala, Natalie heard nothing from Derek. She tried to focus on work, tried to ignore the way his confession had turned her carefully rebuilt world upside down. Jason noticed her distraction but kindly did not comment, though his concerned glances spoke volumes. Then Derek appeared at Catalyst Innovation Labs unannounced. He walked in like he owned the place, drawing every eye in the office. Patricia started to intercept him, but he held up a hand. I'm here to see Natalie Rivers. It's urgent. Natalie stood from her desk, heart pounding. Derek, what are you doing here? Is there somewhere private we can talk? Patricia nodded toward a small conference room. The moment the door closed behind them, Derek turned to Natalie with an expression of anguish and fury combined. The bombshell. It was Rachel Wong, he said without preamble. She orchestrated everything. Natalie's breath caught in her throat. What? Derek pulled out a thick folder, spreading documents across the conference table. Screenshots, security footage, financial records, and email trails. My investigator found it all. Rachel used her security clearance to access your computer after hours. She sent those emails, manipulated the server logs, created the entire false trail of evidence. Then she buried it under layers of technical complexity so it would look legitimate to our forensics team. Natalie sank into a chair, staring at the evidence laid out before her. But why would she do this? The motive. Because she wanted you gone, Derek said, his voice tight with barely controlled rage. The investigator found her personal emails and journal entries. Rachel has been obsessed with me for years. She saw you as a threat, as competition for my attention. She thought if she removed you from the picture, she would finally have a chance with me. Oh my God. There's more. Derek's jaw clenched. She actually did commit corporate espionage. She took $200,000 from our competitor and sold them the acquisition information about Phoenix Systems. Then she framed you for it. She committed the exact crime she accused you of. Natalie felt tears streaming down her face. 4 months of pain, of unemployment, of destroyed reputation, all because of one woman's jealous obsession. The apology. Derek knelt in front of her chair, taking her hands in his. Natalie, you were innocent of everything. Completely innocent. And I didn't believe you. I didn't trust you when it mattered most. When you needed me to stand beside you, I failed you completely. I told you, Natalie said, her voice breaking. I begged you to believe me. I know. Derek's grip on her hands tightened. I know, and I will spend the rest of my life regretting that moment. Rachel has been terminated and arrested. The district attorney is pressing charges for corporate espionage, fraud, and computer crimes. She's facing years in prison. What about my reputation? I've released comprehensive statements to every major tech publication and industry organization, Derek said. Everyone will know the truth. I've made it clear that you were falsely accused, that Ashford Technologies failed you, and that you are completely innocent. Your reputation will be restored. The real confession. But none of that changes what I did to you, Derek continued, his voice raw with emotion. None of that makes up for the fact that when you needed me most, I wasn't there for you. Natalie looked at their joined hands, remembering 4 years of almost touches, of professional distance maintained with such careful precision. Why are you telling me this in person? You could have sent an email or called. Because you deserve to hear it from me, Derek said. Because your reputation matters. And because I love you. The words hung in the air between them. I have loved you since the day you walked into my office 4 years ago, Derek continued, his voice shaking. I love the way you hum softly when you're organizing files. I love how you always made sure I ate lunch during busy days because you knew I'd forget. I love your intelligence and your kindness and your strength. And I am so desperately sorry that when you needed me to love you enough to trust you, I failed. The decision. Natalie pulled one hand free and touched his face, feeling the stubble on his jaw, the warmth of his skin. I loved you too. I still do, even though part of me wishes I didn't. Can you forgive me? Derek asked, turning his face to kiss her palm. Not right now, Natalie said honestly. Maybe not for a long time. But eventually, yes. Can you give me a chance to make this right? To prove that I can be the man you deserve? Natalie thought about 4 months of pain, of rebuilding herself from nothing. She thought about Jason's friendship and her new life at Catalyst. She thought about how easy it would be to say no, to protect herself from more hurt. But she also thought about 4 years of connection, of understanding, of loving this complicated man who had finally found the courage to be honest. The new beginning. Yes, she whispered. I'll give you a chance. Derek surged up and kissed her, and it was everything Natalie had imagined for 4 years. His lips were warm and insistent, his hands gentle as they framed her face. She melted into him, 4 years of longing finally unleashed. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Derek rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he said again. And I will prove it to you every single day. You better, Natalie said, but she was smiling through her tears. The offer. Derek pulled back slightly, his expression turning serious. I have something else to discuss with you. A business proposition. He pulled out another folder, this one containing official documents. Ashford Technologies needs a chief operating officer. Someone who understands the company culture, who can bridge the gap between executive leadership and staff, who has the organizational genius to streamline our processes and the people skills to keep everyone motivated. Natalie's eyes widened as she looked at the documents. Derek, I can't come back as your employee. You wouldn't be my employee, Derek said firmly. You'd be my equal. The COO position reports directly to the board of directors, same as I do. We'd be partners in business. And if you'll let me, partners in everything else too. The future. Natalie looked at the contract, at the salary that was triple what she had made as his assistant, at the equity stake that would make her wealthy in her own right. But more than that, she looked at Derek's face and saw hope, love, and determination. I need time to think about it, she said. And I need to talk to Patricia. She gave me a chance when no one else would. Take all the time you need, Derek said. I'll wait as long as it takes. I've already wasted 4 years. I'm not going to rush you now. Outside the conference room, the entire Catalyst Innovation Labs staff pretended very hard not to have been watching through the glass walls. 6 months later. 6 months later, Natalie stood beside Derek at a press conference announcing her appointment as Chief Operating Officer of Ashford Technologies. She wore a power suit and confidence she had earned through adversity. Derek stood beside her as her equal partner in business and in life. That evening, they returned to the same terrace where he had confronted her at the gala. The San Francisco night was cool, the city lights spreading below them like fallen stars. Any regrets? Derek asked, pulling her close. Natalie thought about the pain, the betrayal, the struggle to rebuild. She thought about how all of it had led to this moment, standing beside the man she loved as his true equal. None, she said, and kissed him as the city sparkled below. Sometimes the story was not over when you thought it was. Sometimes betrayal led to truth, and pain led to healing, and the ending you feared became the beginning you needed.